I appreciate everybody coming down to what will be a very exciting day here in Fairfield. I actually went to school up the road here on North Benson Road at Fairfield U. I've got a lot of friends, colleagues, representatives behind me. I just want to call out a couple of them. First of all, the man who stopped tolls from entering Connecticut, Pat Sasser. We've got the Republican leader of the House, Vinnie Candelora. Hey, Vin. The Republican leader of the Senate, Kevin Kelly. State Representative Tony Wong. Where's Tony? There he is. Did I say state senator? What did I say? State rep?
Promoted him, Bob.
I promoted you, they said, Tony. And especially, I'd like to thank Brenda Kupchik for hosting us today. Brenda's done an amazing job with this town, turning it around and giving people faith in government once again. So congratulations, Brenda. So sadly, there's a lot of people across Connecticut that have lost faith in government. And it's easy to understand why. Just last Friday, a report came out in West Haven that showed over 80% of the money that was supposed to help people struggling with COVID was wasted by elected officials on things like casino chips and marching bands. And today, the mayor of West Haven still hasn't resigned, and there's been absolutely no consequences to her actions. The culture of any organization starts right at the top. Leaders set the tone for how they handle their administration. The level of discipline, the level of oversight, and the level of transparency they're willing to give to their constituents. And unfortunately, in the state of Connecticut, with billions, not millions, billions of dollars flowing in from Washington, Governor Lamont has established a weak culture. He's failed to put the basic controls and policies in place to protect our money, not the government's money, our money. And we're seeing an explosion of fraud, waste, and abuse across the state as a result of it. Governor Lamont's own administration is under an FBI investigation for corruption around the awarding of school contracts. Think about that for a minute. The administration of the Governor of Connecticut, the FBI has called a grand jury investigation of his administration around fraud related to construction contracts. With that type of example at the top of government, what do you think the rest of the state thinks? Of course there's going to be an explosion when leadership is setting that example. 2 of the governor's most senior officials have resigned so far. There are multiple allegations of racial and gender discrimination that the state's Attorney General William Tong refuses to investigate. He'd prefer to look the other way. The democratically controlled legislature of the state of Connecticut refuses to investigate it. They want to rely on the FBI to clean up our mess. And the worst one of all, during the height of COVID, the state of Connecticut awarded a $26 billion, no bid, taxpayer-funded contract to a company called Semaphore that was owned by the governor's own wife. 2 years later, we still don't know how much the Lamont family profited from that transaction. We still haven't seen all the contracts related to that transaction, and we have no idea what the Lamonts intend to do with the money. It's no wonder we have corruption in cities and towns across the state like we saw in West Haven last Friday. Now here's the bright side. It's possible to change that, and the town of Fairfield is a perfect example of when voters and taxpayers take over, you can change it. When senior town officials in Fairfield knowingly dumped landfill laced with PCBs into playgrounds and other public areas, you know what happened? The voters of Fairfield voted them out of office. They did exactly what they should have done. They brought in new leadership with Brenda Kupchik. Brenda has focused on integrity, transparency, and putting the interest of residents first, putting them ahead of government. What a novel idea. She cleaned up the corruption and got government back on track, working for the residents. And if it's possible in Fairfield, I submit to you, with the right leadership, it's possible to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse across the state of Connecticut. But it's going to take the right leadership. And with the help of the outstanding Lieutenant Governor, I couldn't be more happy to announce today, we're going to clean it up when we win. And notice, I say when we win, not if we win, when we win, because the people of Connecticut have had enough and they're ready for a change. We are going to win this election. You know, when I decided to run for governor, I knew one of the most important decisions I could make would be select a lieutenant governor that I could partner with and trust. A running mate who could help change the status quo on day one to work for Connecticut and put the needs of residents first. A person I can rely on to help make communities like Fairfield and areas across the state safer for families. We've had an explosion of crime in our state over the last several years. It's time for that to stop. It's time to support law enforcement, and it's time to make our communities safer again. I wanted a person who cares as much about making Connecticut as affordable as I do. Everything from gas prices approaching $5 a gallon to out-of-control utility bills. People are leaving Connecticut because they simply can't afford to live here anymore, and under our administration, that's going to stop. A person who's willing to invest in education and give parents a right in how and what their kids are taught at school. It's time for that to come back. It's common sense, but it's time for that to come back. And finally, and probably most importantly, a person with the character and integrity to bring transparency and accountability back to government. That's what we're going to do. And I'm proud, I couldn't be prouder, to announce that that person, the next Lieutenant Governor for the state of Connecticut, will be State Rep and Deputy Republican Leader of the House, Laura Devlin. I'm going to talk for about another hour before I let Laura up. Just in closing, you know, for the past 8 years, Laura has been an advocate not only for the community, but for people across the state. Like me, Laura's an outsider. She found her way to politics, wanting to put her professional skills to work to make a difference where her and her family lived. She first ran for local office to fight against escalating property taxes. She then ran for state rep because the state finances were a mess, and she saw the impact it was happening on the people in her community. Laura does not hide from a challenge. I can tell you, she's tough. When Governor Lamont used all of the powers of his office to try to break his #1 campaign promise, and he tried to put up tolls, Laura teamed up with Pat Sasser got the community involved, and stopped that initiative dead in its tracks. They stood up to Governor Lamont and defeated a proposal that would have made Connecticut even more expensive than it is today. Laura listens to her constituents. She seeks out input and builds consensus. She looks for ways to make a difference by putting people first. So in closing, today is a really, really important day, and I appreciate you all coming out. And it's not important because it's about me or about my governorship. Today marks the beginning of a fresh start in Connecticut, a new approach to governing, a government that actually listens to the people they represent. It's the beginning of a journey to make Connecticut safer, more affordable, and to make state government more accountable, to give the power back to the people of Connecticut. Laura, I want to thank you for your, where are you? I want to thank you for your leadership, your partnership, your willing to take on this challenge. I can't tell you how honored and happy, I'm excited that you've accepted my offer to be the next Lieutenant Governor of Connecticut. And with that, I will introduce Laura Devlin. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob, for your kind words, for your leadership, and your trust in me. I am so excited to be your partner in challenging the status quo and getting state government working for the people of Connecticut. I also want to give my thanks to First Selectwoman Brenda Kupchik, who I believe is still stuck out of state, my good friend State Senator Tony Wong, former Republican Senate Leader John McKinney, my leader in the House Republican Leader Vin Candelora, and Kevin Kelly, the Senate Republican Leader, along with so many colleagues and friends who are here today as we kick off a fresh start for the state that we love so much. It means so much to me also to have my family here, my husband Kip, my son Billy, my daughter Elizabeth, and my sister Beth, and to be here in the town of Fairfield, where we set down our roots to grow our family. It's so important because this campaign is about helping families like ours in every town and every community across our state. And that's why I ran for local office in Fairfield. It's why I jumped in to run for state representative, and it's why I am proud to stand up for families here in Fairfield and across Connecticut and serve as your next Lieutenant Governor alongside our next Governor, Bob Stefanowski. Those of you who have known me for a long time know I never intended to get involved in politics. Never mind run for office, but I couldn't sit back when I knew that I could make a difference for my neighbors and for my community. I wanted answers about how our local government worked and why our taxes were going up and why they were so high. I ran for state representative because I wanted to do something about the financial mismanagement in our state government that we're all feeling. And I'm running for Lieutenant Governor with Bob Stefanowski because we need a team leading our state that will listen to the people, that will not be afraid to take action, and that will demand accountability. You know, I hear it every day. People are struggling, and state government can and should do more. The seniors on fixed incomes are struggling to pay their bills and fill their cars with gas. Small business owners are struggling to find employees. They're facing higher taxes and more barriers to growth. And moms and dads balancing checkbooks are struggling to put food on the table and keep their kids safe. And too often, the response from the one party running our state government is to ignore the problems that are staring us right in the face. And as a policymaker, I have always stood up for the people and the businesses that I represent. You know, People are busy with their lives. They are making a living. They're raising their families. They're trying to enjoy their time off. And it's been my job as an advocate to not only make state government work better for them, but to also shine a light on what state government is sometimes doing behind their backs. The people of our state deserve better than what they're getting. We need a strong voice to stand up for the people of Connecticut and restore trust and transparency. And that's why I am proud to be running with Bob. We both know how important that is. We both come from hardworking families who instilled in us the value of a dollar and the importance of hard work. We both believe that state government can and should do more to make every dollar stretch further, the same way families and small businesses do. And we know state government needs to be more honest and accountable to the people who pay the bills. In 2017, I was proud with my colleagues to work across party lines to enact a truly bipartisan budget that put fiscal guardrails in place to enforce a state government spending cap, to curb our appetite for borrowing, to pay our bills, and to finally prioritize saving. The payoff on those policies has been significant since then in our state, but we continually have to push back from the business as usual tax and spend approach that undermines the progress that we've made. And we can't afford to go backwards. Sadly, this same business as usual approach is hurting communities across our state who are experiencing higher crime and violence. It's been incredibly disappointing to hear from those running state government that rising violence and crime is just the new norm, rather than taking any action to do anything about it. And part of our responsibility as leaders is that when things aren't working, we need to do something and make a difference. Local police and community leaders, victims, clergy, even the parents of young offenders have begged for change. But the people in charge continue to find excuses rather than to work for reforms. Bob and I know there are things that we can do to make a difference. And if we can't keep our communities safe, how do we expect them to thrive? Connecticut is the greatest state in the nation. We have the best people, the most innovative entrepreneurs, the brightest students, and endless opportunity for a bright future. Our elected leaders must do more to help realize that bright future. And I am honored to have the opportunity to help make that difference. Thank you.
So thank you all for coming. Laura and I will hang around if anybody has any questions, but I really want to thank everybody for coming out, and I'm sure we'll see everybody again soon. Thank you.